Hello and welcome back to the Retail Journey Podcast. I'm Charles Greathouse.
And I'm James Harris. Joining us today is Nicole Sentivany, Associate Vice President at e.l.f. Beauty.
That is correct.
Awesome.
Good afternoon.
Welcome.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So, Nicole, we've worked together for the last 5, 6, 7 years, right? And all of that has been with e.l.f. But
yes.
Tell us a little bit about your career at large. I know you spent a good deal of time at Procter Gamble.
I did.
Small little firm out of
Cincinnati. Little place out of Cincinnati. I mean, I started there out of grad school and was there, 12, 13 years. Can't even recall. But yeah, always in sales. Obviously, I've been in and out of Northwest Arkansas, so focused on Walmart a lot of those years.
Yeah.
And started in like Tide and, those sexy things like paper towels and toilet tissue. And then really found that I love like more of the beauty and the personal care businesses. Yeah. So did hair care, CoverGirl when they had it, and just kind of found, the beauty space was what I always loved.
Yeah.
So, moved all around, lived in Cincinnati, came back here, and all paths led back to Walmart. So here I am again. Yeah.
I love that beauty space. And Procter, I got to launch Vidal Sassoon.
Oh, my gosh.
For the
second
around.
time? Yeah.
Will there be a third? We will see.
Who knows? Who knows?
That was really fun.
Yeah.
And it's such a fun space to be in. It's where I learned how to launch brands.
Yes.
Was in hair care and expecting that's how brands were launched everywhere. And now I work with folks across that are not in beauty, that are in other areas, and it's a different world.
It's usually a pretty decent marketing budget.
It was
care space.
It was pretty fun, pretty wild,
Yes.
which is different than how e.l.f. went about it.
Yes. I mean, we started online back in the day when that wasn't really a thing at all.
Yeah. Wild.
At all.
And it was only about 15 years ago, right?
Yeah. Sometimes I even forget, we talk about some of our competitors like the Maybellines and Max Factors, which is even older. But only 15 years.
Wow.
And started online with, a father and the son, them well, in the basement and somewhere in New York
Alan
City.
and Joey
so
Shama.
It's come a long, long way.
It's incredible.
It really
so
has.
Did you go Procter then to e.l.f. or?
I did.
Awesome.
Yeah. It was one of those kind of right time, right place. I love Procter. I love the business. Love my team. But it showed up actually on LinkedIn. I've never looked at jobs on LinkedIn in my life, to be fair. And I was like, I like this beauty company, and this is what they're looking for. And I was like, I'll just talk to someone. And funny enough, there's a lot of mutual connections that I didn't realize. And I was like, I'll talk to you, and just really fell in love with what they were trying to do and the opportunity, and took a big leap, and it's really paid off.
Yeah, so it's e.l.f. Beauty, and for those of you that aren't the target market, which is me, pretty solid, e.l.f. stands for eyes, lips, face. I learned this embarrassingly recently.
Well, I will tell you, there are retailers that don't even realize what we actually stand for. So
good.
we are here to educate everyone.
As a recovering merchant, that's what I'll blame.
Yes.
My inner merchant.
And we do sell skincare, so I do think you are in our target market.
Yeah.
So I'll work on you after
So
this
it's
podcast ends.
e.l.f.'s now?
Yeah, that's e.l.f. So we call ourselves e.l.f. Beauty. We're always
beauty
like
covers
e.l.f.
it.
Cosmetics, but
Got it.
yeah, we're getting into skincare and a lot of other different things. So
Love it.
I mean, and the thing that's really like kind of earth-shattering in that story of a 15-year-old brand, they're now a 4 or 5 beauty brand in the U.S.
I mean, and we say this on our earnings, so I'm not saying anything I shouldn't say, but at Target, which is a pretty decent-sized retailer as well, we are the #1 beauty brand.
Wow.
So to
Incredible.
think 15 years ago we didn't exist and we started in a basement. So
And it's not there's a lot of innovation that's come along in new
Yes.
brands in the last 5 years or so, but before that there were like 4.
Oh,
and it was the
for
same
sure.
4 for 50 to 100 years. And if your mom used Maybelline, then that was probably the first thing you got.
It's the truth. I mean, like I worked on actual CoverGirl before they divested to Coty from P&G. And it was, Coty, Maybelline, Revlon, CoverGirl. And then there's these little ones that come in and out, but they were like, most of the category. So, and I grew up, I bought CoverGirl as my first item at Walmart in Washington, Missouri.
Yeah.
And my mom used it, and I used that for a very long period of time. So, the trajectory we've had against some of these like really amazing legacy brands is really, we're really proud of what we've been able to do.
Well, and it's not just because they showed up and had some products that were the same as what was on the shelf. What are the 2-3 things that really make e.l.f. pop and stand out?
Yeah, one thing we talk about is really we have amazing quality, so prestige-like quality, right? So the things that you're buying at a Sephora or some places like that, we have the same and sometimes better quality, if I do say so myself, and then at accessible prices. So the people that thought, oh, I could never have this primer or this foundation because it's $46. I mean, the prices are crazy at some of these other retailers. Like, they're able to get that same type of product. And again, I would argue better at prices that they can afford every day.
Right, 8, 10, 12,
Exactly.
4.
I mean, we are launching items that are $2 to this day. So
Awesome.
we just really, like, our CEO says, everyone says this, our goal is to make our brand accessible to every eye, lip, and face. And that's every ethnicity, every gender, every, price point, demographic. And part of that is offering great product at a great price.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's incredible.
All right. So when you're looking at, you work with, I assume, other retailers now,
I do.
Walmart and others.
I
so
do.
how do you, Nicole, approach category growth?
Yeah. I mean, I think no matter what, I've worked across, many categories, different brands over my career. And I think the what you look at is somewhat the same. The how is different. So I would say, I think where you're most successful in growing a category is when you start with your shopper. So not even like your retailer, it's like your true shopper.
Right.
So like in hair care, you have experience in this, Charles.
Oh, yeah.
It's about regimen, right? How, most people use shampoo, some use conditioner, few use treatments, right? It's better for your hair if you use them all. So if you expand that category, you have category growth, and it's educating that shopper. Other things, it's about trade up. When I worked on Tide back in the day, it's like people were using powder. It's so much better to use liquid, to how to get kind of that trade up within the category. And I'd say with e.l.f., one of the things we've done, again, really well is there's so many new users we're bringing into kind of this masstige space because they didn't think they could afford some of these products elsewhere. So it's bringing those people in to, the Walmarts of the world, the grocery channel of the world, Targets of the world, and saying you can have these really amazing products at a price that you can also afford.
At Mastige.
At Mastige.
I like that.
Yes,
I hadn't
yes.
heard that one yet.
Yeah, no, Mastige.
So I bought the, call it internal beauty, the vitamin business.
Okay, yes.
And there's, a lot of correlation as to things you're willing to put into your body, things you're willing to put onto your body.
Yes.
And the trends here of late. How have those trends impacted e.l.f., if at all?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's something we're always like looking at, right? Because internal beauty's become even bigger. So whether it's like collagen or beauty vitamins, I mean, back at P&G, we even tried some of those things like Olay. So we're always looking at what the future trends are, again, to serve like every need that our shopper has. But I think that's another thing we do really well is we don't look at the categories like we serve lipstick and foundation. Like we are here to build beauty, and that might get into things like that. I mean, nothing on the horizon. I know nothing that nobody else knows, but but I think we're always looking at like what the shopper wants, and again, being very shopper customer focused.
I think that is what is, if I were going to boil it down to something that has led to the success. It's what happens if you really truly focus on the customer,
right, and
then innovate from there.
Exactly.
With a mindset of the customer. I had as a negotiation tactic from I'm trying to remember which DMM it was, but I haven't yet had a customer ask to raise the price.
Right.
And they may have been Scott Huff. I think he may have been the one that said,
sounds right.
If you go ahead and ask a customer and they suggest that we raise that 50 cents, then okay, yeah, I'm totally fine with it.
Right.
But until then, let's go ahead and fight to try to not do that.
Yeah.
And just seeing how you're approaching the category and bringing affordability and accessibility to it is, I think, such a powerful lesson that's risky and it's probably terrifying, at least early on, and then you get to see the success of volume.
Agreed. And I would say one other thing, just to your point on pricing, that's one thing we're also really proud of. We don't, we are like very EDLP, EDLC type of model,
Let's go.
which Walmart loves, right? Like we don't do a lot of gimmicks. We don't do high-low. We don't do promotions. Like we really stick to like, here is a very obvious price, $1, $2, $3, up to $10, $12, and very transparent for all of our shoppers. So, you're getting the best value every day.
Yeah, I love that.
There's so obviously the 3 Ps are important with retail. There's something that's unique about e.l.f. in the kind of joyful, playful pursuit. Like I've got a 15-year-old daughter, and for the last 3-4 years, like nothing makes her happier than being dropped off with a friend at a store and $20-$30 to go in and buy new and try new, and then make the videos and share it with friends. And e.l.f. was kind of a pioneer in consumer-generated content.
Yes.
Is that still a primary driver of your voice in marketing?
100%. I mean, again, we are very, and our CMO, who's brilliant, she always says like we are very community led. So we don't call our shoppers. We call them our community because they are more just people that buy products from us. Like, even if you don't buy anything from us, we want you to be part of our community, right?
Yeah.
And some of that is just like social engagement. We put out like, we were one of the very first beauty brands on TikTok. We put out a music video. We put out music. Like, we're somewhat of an entertainment company, and I think that also makes us like very relevant, especially to like the younger generations. Even myself, no longer younger, but it just starts that social buzz. Like, you want to be part of it, and it's not just about we want you to buy something,
right?
Which just also feels like a friend, right? Like, it is. There's so much user-generated content because of that. The good and the bad is it's crazy. We are picked up on TikTok or by like someone like Michaela, who's a huge influencer, and we might just see, oh, she loves this product. She posted it, and then, units go through the roof, which is great for me, terrible for forecasting and supply chain. But I mean, it's just exciting to see that people just like really, one, it's not the traditional marketing of years past. It's really like building this community that's excited to see what you have coming.
So 6-7 years ago when you joined e.l.f., how have things evolved over the last 7 years?
I mean, the scale of the company is just, started to blow me. I mean, again, being like the number 1, 2, 3 brand, even at like a Walmart is huge.
Right.
Like, who would have ever thought that, especially, from my history of working for a big company. Like, who would ever thought we could do that, with such a small company? I think also some of the things that we're branching out into. So we have, e.l.f., which you guys are familiar with. We have Well People, which is an uber clean EWG type of brand. We have Keys Soul Care with Alicia Keys. And then exciting, it actually just happened this week. We closed the deal for Naturium. So if you're not familiar, it is a personal care brand. It is body care, mostly skin care, amazing. Right now in the U.S., pretty much exclusive at Target. Okay. But just, again, like, we want to go after every eye, lip, and face, and a lot of people are looking for that, like, deep care for skincare, and by acquiring them, like, the sky's the limit, right? We just keep branching out.
So great. What about international?
Yes, that is probably, beyond skincare, we say our 2 biggest kind of white space opportunities are skincare and then also international. So our percentage of the business that's international is still pretty small. And we just continue, because everywhere, like, is asking for us. We get so many social comments on our things, like, can you bring us to India, which obviously we have some business there. We love you in Australia, just across the globe. So, lots of interest. We're, at Boots and Superdrug in the UK, but just continue to build, kind of those footholds, which is exciting.
So there's a lot of folks that have dreams of being number 1, number 2, number 3 in some of the most competitive categories in the planet. And the vast majority of them never grow to become number 1, 2, and 3. So over the last 7 years, lots of change and evolution. If you could, think back and give yourself advice, the things you've learned over that period, what would you say as a guiding light or some of the principles to hold on to as you actually go on the journey of large scaled growth?
Yeah. I'd say it's all about focus and coming back to like what we call our values and our superpowers. Like, what do we do really well? Like, accessible beauty, great value, great quality, clean, all those things. Like, those are our focus areas, and don't get distracted by everything else in the beauty universe to some degree. And then just also like be very strategic. Like, we're at a place, which is good and bad. Like, I probably get 25, 30 emails a week from both domestic and international retailers. Like, we want to carry your brand. We want to carry your brand. And I would say back in the day, I think we actually were in 7-Eleven years before I even started. Because we're like, we're a new brand. Who wants us,
That's
right?
Such a great problem.
Oh my gosh, it is. But at the same time, like, we want to make sure we can treat like our core customers and fulfill every need that they have, that we're strategically how we going to go forward. But also, again, serving every eye, lip, and face, you do need to have some breadth of distribution. So I would say just continue to focus on what we're doing well, on our superpowers, and then just build real strategic in what we do going forward versus just kind of putting ourselves out there to
focus
everything.
And have superpowers is what I heard.
Yes.
I need to get some of those superpowers. Let's go.
No, it's amazing.
So the business at Walmart, specifically, when you think about just going from one place and growing from one specific need into multiple from there, what have been the things that have unlocked the bigger conversations over time?
Yeah, I mean, I'd say the thing that, we're if you look at our strategies, they're very well aligned with Walmart, which is great. I mean, again, things like EDLP, EDLC, not just like price gimmick, offering great value to shoppers. And I think we're just very principled in everything we do, much like Walmart, just like, they're a very big company, very principled. We are as well. So I think that helps us partner together. And I think we want to build a different kind of beauty company, and they really want to make beauty a destination for them. And we've really been able to do that. And I think some of the areas where we have a lot of experience in like digital and social commerce and things like that, I think that's places where we continue to partner with them, like TikTok live streams, things like that. We're really good at that. And that's a place where, they have a great consumer base. We have this great, experience and knowledge on these types of things, and really coming together to build a business.
Yeah, and the younger demographics really love that medium, and it's huge in other countries around the world.
Agreed.
It could be like an intro to, say, China or other Asian countries.
Agreed. Well, and I think the other thing we do really well is like you're saying, your 15-year-old daughter. I mean, I truly actually buy e.l.f. makeup. My mom uses e.l.f. makeup, so I think we do span a good amount of ages. However, I think a lot of retailers realize like these younger generations, like my 10-year-old already wants makeup, right? They're going to be the ones that are going to have the spending power.
Right.
I think she has more spending power than I do right now. I don't know where she gets it.
That's amazing.
But that's going to be like the future, especially in some of these categories.
Yeah.
And I think we just have such a good relationship again with that younger community that we bring that to our retailers.
Well, we've been talking about Gen Z, like, they're gonna change things. Well, they're buying now. They're some Gen Zs they're in their career.
Yes.
Right. The people that have grown up in the digital age, only ever known that, have completely different shopping patterns, interests, values. That they're here.
Yes. Yeah. That is now.
They are
right.
here
And
now.
where's the puck going? Exactly.
Yeah. So just kind of comparing a little bit of P&G, a little bit of e.l.f. What are some of the challenges you've run into in terms of looking for growth, looking for category growth, and that maybe your partnerships or your relationships with the retailer, cross-functional, whatever. What are some of your kind of biggest wins, so to speak, or things that you've learned the most from along your career journey?
Yeah. I mean, some of the biggest wins, I hope that they're ahead. I mean, we have a lot of great things like kind of on the horizon. But yeah, I mean, I'd say some of the biggest learnings in terms of like wins with whether at P&G or at e.l.f. is it becomes very hard sometimes to come to like a win-win situation. I mean, we've all done all the negotiation training. Charles, I know you have. I've taken those too. It's harder and harder to do that, but I feel like if you don't get to that place, sometimes you are good to walk away. I think sometimes we're just so hungry to like get this business or to land this deal, and maybe it's not the right decision for everyone, and that plays out at some point, as we all know, right? So I feel like, even at an e.l.f., I feel like there's always a point I'm like, maybe this is my walk away point. That's better for everyone involved. And it feels good to kind of have that, like even a small company, that large from all the way up to your CEO to say like, if this isn't going to really help the retailer, the customer, our community, or us, like, let's walk away. Let's revisit it another time.
And walking away doesn't mean you can't come back.
Exactly.
Another time. Absolutely.
Sometimes it's right place, right time, all of that. But I think that's been a big learning, like, over the years.
Yeah. So High Impact is pretty into data and analytics.
Yes.
It's kind of in our name. And there's you have some of the same standard inputs that any other category would in beauty, but you also have there's also a large subjective element and trends and what's happening in South Korea and Japan.
Yes.
How do you and how does e.l.f. kind of bring all that together to, one, decide what is the right thing to do, and then to use it to drive category expansion?
Yeah, I mean, we obviously use the traditional data sources, Nielsen and POS data, things like that. But then even from a quantitative standpoint, I mean, for us, because we do a lot of product innovation that's similar to more prestige, like NPD, to seeing what's happening in like the greater market, because a lot of times some of those trends obviously filter down to more of the mass market. And then just like qualitatively, like right now our innovation team is in both China and Korea. So just seeing like trends, like actually in you know some of these places that drive the trends. And then we do a lot of our own kind of consumer shopper insights types of studies with both our shoppers and others. And then honestly, like a good place resource for me is like I listen to all my major retailers like earnings calls, right? Or other retailers' earnings calls or brands' earnings calls. I just think there's so much to learn from there about the industry, what's going on, what's important to our different retailers. So that's just another one that we reference quite often.
Yeah,
I love it.
very insightful.
Well, how about so the trend side and
Yeah.
and planning innovation? What about operational excellence? When you think about Walmart, what's the role that's played with e.l.f?
I mean,
And how do you pursue it? The role of data.
yes. I mean, as you know, like I think with Walmart, like operational excellence is, I mean, they, since day one I
critical.
work with them, it's critical. Like
Yeah.
that is like, that's their wheelhouse, right? And it's so, so important. And you have, 4,800 stores to try to service. So you have to get that right. So I think that is, yes, a huge, huge part of, what we spend a lot of time on for this business. I mean, this is no surprise. We are manufactured outside of the U.S. for the most part. So like longer lead times. So
Yeah.
it's like really important to get those things right. And I'd like to say, like, we have a really good partnership with our team at Walmart, which is so, so important because, again, like, you have to hold hands on, we think this is going to be viral. Who knows? Like,
Yeah.
we think this is the biggest trend in the world. We'll
Yeah.
see. Usually we're pretty close to being right. But I think in the beauty, it's a little bit different versus,
I mean, you have 30 to 40% turnover in the items that are carried from year to year.
in products. I mean, and I have like between 400 and 500 items on a set in some cases. Like, it's a lot
Yep.
of complexity to
Right.
manage.
Yeah.
And you have shade ranges, and it's just different than the days when I was, forecasting 20 different SKUs of scented Tide.
Oh,
you know?
totally.
That's something that's impressed me with e.l.f. For a long time is the early and continuous investments in your supply chain,
Yes.
your warehousing, your team in those warehouses. That has been a critical part, I think, of your success because bringing the great trend, awesome, bringing it at a value, but if you're out of stock, doesn't do anything.
Doesn't matter.
No.
And that's, I mean, I've seen that time and time
Oh,
again.
gosh.
People who are really good at innovation undervalue operational excellence. I've also seen people who can only see operational excellence
Right.
and over time become irrelevant. So
Right.
it's,
Agreed. There is such a, you hit it on the head. Like, there's such a sweet spot, right? Because, yeah, we like to say we're very, very fast, but when you go really fast,
Yeah.
it shortens your planning time and all
Right.
those different things. But I mean, in beauty, it's, I think, more important than almost any other category. So,
Yeah. Yeah, one of my favorite quotes from the great and late Jack Shoemaker is the only sustainable competitive advantage is speed. And I thought about that all the time while working a,
yeah.
47-week long modular cycle
Oh my
of like, all right, how do I get speed and make sure that I'm flowing ahead, and
Yeah.
at the same time you don't hit those mod calendars. You've got 4,700 stores to execute, and you do that thing wrong, you got
a lot of
problems.
money.
You got 500 items in a set. If that thing doesn't get set right the first time, guess what?
it never will.
It's not going to get set.
Yeah. I mean, we always talk about you have to slow down to speed up.
Yeah.
And it's like all that planning on the front end to get it is right. There's always going to be something that's going to come up. We all know this, right?
Murphy's Law.
Murphy's Law.
What a jerk.
But
That
gosh,
guy.
I still blame him for everything.
Murphy.
Or her. We don't know.
Yeah.
They. But yeah, like we really try to do so much on the front end so then we can speed up as we go through the process. But again, something's always going to come up, but we've started to get a pretty good cadence of, how to make it work.
Yeah. So of what you can share with us, what are you most excited about for next year?
Yeah, I think company-wide, just like so many, opportunities, like we talked international, some expansion there with Naturium. I think, really exciting to see this new brand. It's very, very healthy brand and bring two like very smart teams together. And then I'd say for me specifically, like we have so much opportunity at Walmart, lots of exciting things going on with them. I mean, I've been down here forever, so like my heart's in Arkansas.
Yeah.
So love to see them win. And they have a great team over there. So I think some really exciting things happening in our
Awesome.
partnership there soon. Yeah.
A lot of good things.
Yeah.
I think we're about out of time. Let's move to our kind of lightning
Oh, gosh,
round here.
okay.
What are you reading?
Oh gosh. Besides the stuff that my daughter's supposed to be reading, I'm making sure she's like reading her
I
books.
love it.
At most these days, I get is like maybe a Vogue on the plane, and I call that industry trend
Yeah.
stuff for work. Yeah, not as good as I used to be on that, to be honest.
No, I hear you.
Yeah.
I hear you there.
Biggest win in retail.
Biggest win. It's upcoming. I'm just gonna say
I
that.
like
yeah,
it.
Right.
Yeah, yeah,
Let's go.
yeah.
That's awesome.
You can ask I guess the last question here is, how do you de-stress and relax?
Yeah, I try to work out, try to get in a run. I feel like that physically helps me de-stress. I also do like to travel, even though I do a lot for work. And then I'll
That
be
helps.
honest,
That helps.
And I will say I love retail therapy. I'm in retail. I love some retail therapy. So
Yeah.
you'll know when a whole bunch of boxes
Walk a
get dropped
store.
off my door, it's been a rough week.
Yeah, and we retail therapy while traveling. Those
Exactly.
probably get combined.
I mean, I go to New York a lot. It's dangerous.
That's
but,
Sky Mall magazine. Let's go.
Oh, I
Sky
forgot
Mall.
about Sky
Everybody
Mall.
needs a little, statue for the front
Oh my
front
gosh.
porch or
I miss those, honestly.
right. Yeah, we got to get the Sky Mall back. Sky
Yeah.
Mall if you're
or
on.
at least a QR code for a Sky Mall because nobody wants to touch all
Yeah.
that anymore.
Or the
That is
alarm
so true.
clock that like does lights. And
Oh yeah, I want to wake
scents
up to
and-
the sunshine
The
and,
hair
and the
growth
smell,
hat.
the smell of bacon.
yeah, I mean.
Everybody wants that. So just before we sign off, we've got listeners from across the merchandising side and the supplier side. You guys, e.l.f. is a heroic story of the ages. I mean, essentially, to go from in this space that's so competitive,
Yeah.
from obscurity to prominence while remaining true to their superpowers.
Yeah.
What's the counsel to those that are in a position either on that journey or
Yeah.
they're deterring from it? What's the encouragement you'd give to someone who's trying to follow a similar path?
Yeah. I mean, whatever you call them, we call them superpowers, but find like what you're really, really good at and just focus on that.
Oh, yeah.
Because I think we all get distracted because retailers like a lot of different things like, oh, we want you to look at this and we think this is exciting. And it's very easy to do that,
Yeah.
but focus on what you're really, really good at. And that's where,
It's kind of like slowing down to speed up.
Yes.
Sometimes you have to say no to say yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
100%.
Bring it back to like at the end of the day, focus on what you're really good at
Yep.
and then go execute.
Execute with excellence, exactly. Because in all ways, if you can't do that, none of it matters.
I love it.
Execution eats strategy for lunch, isn't that
Right.
something?
Yeah.
something
And you've
along
got to
those lines?
enjoy what you're doing and who
Yes.
you're doing it with.
Yes.
That's been one of the great things about working with e.l.f. for so long is even as the teams have turned over,
Yeah.
it's always a great team.
Yes,
That's so true.
agreed.
There's a cultural thread through there that we may have not talked about today, but when
Yeah.
you've got a team that works together really well,
Yes.
if you don't, like there is no, like focus is super neat if people don't work together, but if they are working together really well and they're focused, and there's a lot of power in that team.
Yeah. I mean, we just are passionate to win, and we're all very close. It's still a relatively small company. So
Yeah.
when I have to make that call at 9:00 at night, be like, hey, quick favor, I don't like to do this, but this is an important one. And they're like, yeah, what do you need?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because we just all like truly love what we do. We love the company we work for, and we believe in all the values that we have. So it makes those later nights or earlier mornings like all worth it in the end.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Grateful to be a partner.
Yeah,
Thank you so
yeah.
much.
Thank you guys so much.
And thank you for joining us.
Oh my gosh, thank you.
And as always, thank you for joining us. And you can listen to any of the Retail Journey podcasts on the High Impact Analytics website or wherever you download your podcasts. Thank you for joining us.